सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता।
त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता।
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता।
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता।
त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता।
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता।
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता। श्री कृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण
गोविन्द हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव।
श्री कृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव।
श्री कृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव।
श्री कृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव।
श्री कृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव।
सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
Welcome to Satsang. Let's begin this evening with a meditation together. We were speaking last night about letting go, finding that true self. So take a moment and allow yourself to find a position that you won't have to move in for the next, say, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Allow the eyes to close. Keeping the body still and the eyes closed is the base of beginning to keep the mind still. Because as the body moves, the mind goes with it. So allow the body to be still. And take a moment and allow all of your organs of sensation and all of that energy of sensation to pull from the outer world inward. So our eyes are already closed, but hearing and smelling and touching, all of these senses we have, it's not about shutting them off, but it's about pulling them from being focused on sights and sounds and smells in the world outside, to focusing on the world inside. Draw the awareness to the breath. Just allow your awareness to merge with your breath as it flows in and flows out. If the mind wanders, just bring it back to the breath. And as you exhale, on each exhalation, allow yourself to let go. Let go of the roles that you play. Let go of the drama. Let go of the expectation. Let go of the grudges. Let go of all of that that is binding and chaining you to that which is not self. As you exhale, just let it go. All of how you identify, all of your history, just breathe it out as you exhale and allow yourself to sink deeper and deeper into the core of the self. Exhaling and letting go with each breath. Sinking deeper and deeper. Freer and freer. If you find that the mind wanders, you can add a gentle mantra to it. You can chant silently to yourself. So, on the inhalations, hum on the exhalations. So, so, it means I am that. I am one with the universe. I am the universe. I am the creator and I am the creation. I am that. So, And as you inhale and as you exhale and let go, allow that distinction between the inner and the outer to dissolve. So as we inhale, we're inhaling from the outer to the inner. And as we exhale, we're exhaling from the inner to the outer. But as you do it, and as you hold the body still and the mind focused, notice how that border, that boundary between inner and outer begins to dissolve, such that if you allow yourself to go deep enough, still enough, there is no inner, there is no outer. There's just breath. Slowly and gently bring the palms of the hands together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes, release the hands. We were speaking before the Arti about the power of thought. And so I thought, rather than take a question in advance first from our paper, I would take that first and then go right into opening it up to any questions that are here. The power of thought is something that a lot of us, most of us, we overlook. We understand the power in my hands. We understand I'm going to work hard, I'm going to build something, I'm going to write something, I'm going to do something, I'm going to cook something. We understand I've got this power. I roll a chapati, then I'll have a chapati. I make a soup, I'll have a soup. I build a house, I'll have a house. Do my work, I'll have money. We understand the power of the body, the legs. Use them. Walk to where I want to go. Use my arms to drive me there. We even understand the power of our mouths, the words we speak. We say to each other all the time, "Oh, that really hurt my feelings. You made me angry." Right? What you said made me angry. I was in a great mood. Then you came home. You said this. You said that. Now I'm angry. So we give other people's words even the power into my mind. that the mouth is so powerful that my mind is peaceful, but your mouth and your tongue does something. Out of it comes this sound energy, and now somehow my peace is gone. So we really get the power of the mouth. What we overlook is the power of the thoughts. And it's tragic because actually that is the root power, because that which I do with my hands or my legs or my mouth, it begins with a thought. We may not know what the thought is. We may not have a subtle enough yet attention and awareness of the thought that led me to slap someone, the thought that led me to punch my fist through a wall, the thought that led me to go out and buy a bottle of whiskey and drink the whole thing and drown my sorrows. We may say, Lord God, I wasn't even thinking. But the truth is you were, you just weren't thinking consciously. But if you weren't thinking, you wouldn't have done any of that. It's the thought that leads us there. It's the thought that says, I'm going to walk to the temple. I'm going to walk to the banks of Ganga. I'm going to walk to the dining hall. It's all one thought. But most of us, ironically, are very content, or certainly very surrendered, to just allow our minds and our thoughts to do whatever they want. You know, I always laugh and I always say, if sitting here in front of you, suddenly my arms started going like this, and I said to you, don't worry about that, that's just my crazy arms, you'd think, this lady's sick. And if, in addition to that, I started bouncing up and down and I said, don't worry about that, those are just my crazy legs. Yeah, they do that sometimes. You'd think, something's really wrong with her. She needs help. There are illnesses. Tourette syndrome, tics. I mean, there's actual illnesses that people have in which their hands do things that they're not in control over, in which sounds or words come out of their mouth that they're not in control over. It's an illness. So we know I should be in control of that. But our thoughts that are actually the one not only determining my actions, but actually creating my world. We're very prepared to just say, yeah, my mind, it's all over the place. Oh yeah, my crazy mind, I have no control over it. But our thoughts are the most powerful. And this is where the practice of meditation, where the practice of mindfulness is so important. Because it enables us to see the thought, and to understand where it's going, right? We always say thoughts are vehicles. So if one day your friend calls you up and says, guess what? I've got a first-class ticket. Come with me. The first question we ask is going to be what? Think about it. Your best friend calls you, says, guess what? I've got a first-class ticket for you. Where? Yeah, where are we going? Where to? And if that friend says, to hell, to misery, are you going to go? No matter how cushy the ride, we're not going to go because we understand I don't want to be where this is ending up, where that train, where that plane, where that vehicle is going to end. Regardless of how much I may enjoy the ride, I don't want to be where it ends up. So I'm not going to get on it. But every time we have a thought that says, that's not fair, that's your fault, you made me angry, you made me upset, you're the reason, I'm not fill in the blank enough, I'm not good enough, smart enough, beautiful enough, rich enough, young enough, worthy enough. I can't fill in the blank. Anytime we have those thoughts, those are vehicles to misery. But we jump on them so readily. And what's amazing is we've jumped on them 1,000,000 times, so it's not like we don't know it's headed to misery. Every time I have that negative thought, that judgmental thought, oh God, that person, I really don't like them. I've had that thought, maybe not about that particular person, but about so many people in my life, and I know where that thought goes. It goes to separation, it goes to negativity, it goes to projection, it goes to keeping me away from the truth of who I am. It goes to polluting my own heart. It goes to my own version of hell. So every time that vehicle comes, instead of jumping on it, what we need to learn how to do is to say, bye, have a nice trip. So the thought comes, but instead of jumping on it, it's like if you're waiting at a bus stand or you're waiting at the airport, right? You're at a gate. There's a plane, but it's not your plane yet. Your plane is the next one. But here it is at the gate. And the gate agent says, hey, you want a ticket? I've got an extra seat. But it's not going where you want to go. So you're not going to get on it just because it's there. You're going to wait. Say, no problem, thanks, I'll wait for my own flight. Because you know, mujhe jana nahi hai, I don't want to end up where this plane is going. Same thing. When you find yourself having a thought, oh, it's going to be horrible. Oh, everything's going to be a mess. I'm a mess. Life is a mess. You're a mess. Think about it like the wrong bus, the wrong plane. And just, namaskar, have a nice trip. Let it go by. The other way to think about it is if you're lying on your back and you're looking up at a beautiful blue sky on a slightly windy day, and a cloud comes from over here. So there's two ways to deal with that. One way is my attention hooks into that cloud and I follow it all the way across the sky. At which point my attention is cloud. The other way to do it is to stay focused on the blueness of the sky and the clouds just come. And that's what you want to do. So these thoughts are coming. The thoughts are the clouds. But instead of allowing ourselves to hook into it, we stay focused on the blue sky in between them. And that's what meditation teaches us, is how to stay grounded in that space between the thoughts. How not to jump on the thought, because it happens in meditation also. You're meditating, then suddenly you're meditating, and you can smell something. And it smells like muffins. Okay? So what does the mind do? The mind says, ooh, muffins. Hope they're blueberry muffins. Hope they're vegan blueberry muffins. Well, I really shouldn't eat blueberry muffins because I was supposed to go on a diet today. Oh, but God, I remember that blueberry muffin I had a couple weeks ago at so-and-so's house. It was great. God, I really should call her again. That was so rude of me. I promised I was going to call. I didn't call. You know, I never call people when I say I'm going to call people. I am so irresponsible. Nobody can count on me. That's why everybody always leaves me in my life. I am worthless. So you see, 15 seconds. And I've gone from a whiff of a blueberry muffin to I'm a worthless human being. Could go another way. Could have ended with, oh yeah, I had that beautiful blueberry muffin in our house. That was so nice. I should call her again. She lives in a much better area of town than I do. Maybe I should move. I know, I'm going to stand up for meditation. I'm going to call the realtors because I'm sure if there's a house available there, it's going to be gone within the next hour. So I'm going to call them immediately. Jump up. This is how the mind works. And this is why, as we meditate, yes, smells come, sounds come, distractions come, thoughts come. But we just come back. We come back to the breath, we come back to the mantra, we come back to the awareness. Because it gives us that toolkit of knowing how in our life, when all of these vehicles, these thought vehicles come by, how not to jump on them. How to stay focused in that space between the thoughts. Before taking any of the questions that came in advance, I'm happy to take any questions that anyone here may have. Yes.
Hello, Sadhvi Namaste. Actually, I have two questions.
Okay.
Yeah, the first question is regarding what you had asked me to do yesterday. So I thought of the consciousness, and what I like to think is when I was most alive. Okay. So I found this weird question, which is what is the connection of fear with consciousness? Because I felt this is my experience. It may be different for everyone else. My experience was that I felt most alive in life-threatening situations, and I've been in two. So I felt most alive that time. So that is question number one.
Great. Okay, well, let's take it first.
Okay.
So we were speaking about consciousness last night, and he said that, interestingly, he feels most conscious in, you said, life-threatening situations. So here's what's really interesting. Traumatic moments are those that imprint the most deeply. So for example, if you say to most people today, where were you on 9/11? Most people can tell you exactly where they were, exactly who they were talking to, what they were wearing. My parents' generation, you say to anybody my parents' age, where were you when JFK was assassinated? Everybody can tell you exactly the same thing. It's okay, let them hold it. It's okay, no problem. They can tell you exactly the same thing. Traumatic moments, whether our life is actually being threatened or just something has happened. We've witnessed a car accident. We got news that a loved one has died. We were in a car accident. They imprint upon us very, very deeply. Why? And you've noted something very beautiful, and congratulations. Because you are most conscious then. You cannot be wandering mind while your life is in danger. You cannot be with a wandering mind when disaster has just struck. We must be fully present right here, right now. But tragically, for most of the rest of the time, our bodies are one place doing one thing and our minds are someplace else. Bodies are here, minds are anywhere. Puja Swamiji always says, Bina ticket, Bina visa. Paris, London, America, I mean, it's everywhere. Rapid fire, you don't even have to wait for an airplane. All over the world we are. But when our life is being threatened, when something traumatic is happening, your mind is never wandering. There's a beautiful story of a disciple who says to his guru, Guruji, I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to experience God, but it doesn't work. My mind keeps wandering. I'm trying to focus on my mantra, trying to focus on God, but my mind keeps wandering. What to do? I really, really, really want enlightenment. I really, really want to experience God, but my mind keeps wandering. So the guru takes him to a river nearby, takes him in the river, holds his head under the water. Now the guy at first thinks, oh, this is some blessing, I'm being, blessed with the water. Then he realizes, oh my God, my guru's trying to drown me. He can't breathe. The guru's holding his head under the water. Can't breathe, can't breathe. Finally, he's flailing around, fighting for his life. At the very last moment before he passes out, the guru pulls him out of the water. And he says to him, so tell me, where was your mind? And the guy's like, on breathing? On surviving? The guru says, was your mind wandering? He says, of course not. So the guru says, when you want God, like you wanted a breath, then it'll happen. And this key that you've just brought in is beautiful. Consciousness, awareness, presence is that which connects us to God, to the truth, to awareness, to the expanded consciousness. And this is where all of the mystic traditions, the experiential traditions of all of the religions of the world have a practice of some kind, in some way, on being mindful, on being present, on being conscious. Mindful eating, mindful walking. Why? To train me, to teach me, to be aware, to be conscious. Because if I'm not here, I'm losing everything. You cannot be happy tomorrow. You cannot be at peace tomorrow. You cannot be enlightened and awakened and free tomorrow. Or yesterday, by the way. The only opportunity that you have for peace, for joy, for enlightenment, for awakening, for moksha, is right here and right now. But if I'm not here, I've missed it. Because every one of those requires me to be conscious. If you're daydreaming, you're not in bliss, you're not in peace. And this is why it's a beautiful practice, actually. When you have moments in your life where you really feel deep, connected joy, when you really feel peace, when you really feel that experience of freedom and awakening, allow yourself to truly experience that moment as fully as you can. Hold yourself in that moment as much as you can. The smells, the sights, the sounds. Allow it to imprint on you, because then it'll stay with you. Otherwise, we have these beautiful moments and they're over because we weren't even there when it happened. Our minds were somewhere else. We're in Arti, we're in this extraordinary experience. But our mind is on, I wonder what's for dinner. Or our mind is on, oh, I got to get this up on Instagram. Whatever it may be. Being right there as you were in those life-threatening moments is exactly the key to consciousness. So now the question is, how can I be conscious and aware and present without my life having to be threatened? And that's what our spiritual practice is about. So yes, exactly. Good job. Before we come to your second question, I want to just see if anyone else has a question, just as a sort of equal opportunity satsang for a moment. Yes. We'll circle back to you. Namaste.
Hello. So my question is, when we say find a God, so there is a question in non-duality and duality. So should we find the God outside, or there is a God divinity within us? So basically, question is,
I get it.
Duality or non-duality?
So, do we try to find God outside or inside? Doesn't matter. Because regardless of where you experience God, the minute you actually experience God, you will realize that God is everywhere. So for some people, it's easier to connect with an experience of divinity when I've got something to focus on, an image, some form of the divine. Makes it easier for me to focus, makes it easier for me to love, makes it easier for me to meditate on it. No problem. For some, that form is distracting. It's easier to just focus on infinite presence. Also wonderful. Because see, if I connect with God, let's say I connect with God through a form outside of me. Whether it's a form of Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, Shivji, Mother Goddess, the tree in my backyard, Ganga, whatever it may be. The minute that I actually experience the divine, I see that divine in all. If I really experience Lord Krishna, even if I have that experience while I'm seeing a beautiful murti of Bhagavan Krishna, the minute that I actually have that awareness, if it's real and it's deep and it's full, then I'm able to see Krishna everywhere. And if I'm not, then it wasn't a full experience yet. And in the same way, if I experience the divine as this infinite, nameless, formless, supreme presence, well then of course I'm able to realize that that presence pervades all. I'm able to experience that presence in everyone and everything. I love Ganga, which means, of course, that every little river and rivulet and tributary and puddle and drop of Ganga, I'm going to love. Because I realize, well, it's all Ganga, right? So if I have this experience of the infinite divine, if the divine is infinite and I've connected with that infinite reality, well, that infinite reality is present in you, in you, in you, in everything. Otherwise, it's not infinite. So start anywhere, it doesn't matter. And here's the last piece of that. You ended talking about, dualism or non-duality. The teaching of non-duality, when we speak about Advaita, it says there is nothing but God. It doesn't say, the teaching of non-duality does not say God only lives in you. It says there is nothing but God. So we've gone beyond, we're obviously not a polytheistic religion, but not even a monotheistic religion that says just there is one God somewhere. The teaching is actually there is nothing but God. Which means if you want to worship God here in this form or that form, no problem. It's also God. And those who are the dualists, the bhakti tradition, those who are really enlightened, really awake, they know there's nothing but God. Those who really worship God, say Krishna, they understand there is nothing but Krishna. But here's what's beautiful. The experience of being in love is so wonderful that it's a willing and a conscious suspension of this awareness that there is nothing but Krishna. There is nothing but God, even in me, as me. In order to be able to swim in, merge in, melt in that juice of bhakti, that juice of devotion. Because it's very hard to be devoted to just presence. It's very hard to be devoted to just infinite presence, to be devoted to yourself. It's a lot easier to generate love and juicy devotion and bhakti for something outside. And so in service of that beauty of love, that beauty of devotion, that joy of being the lover of a beloved, that joy of singing, praying, feeding, serving the divine, for that joy, I willingly suspend my awareness that divinity whose praises I'm singing is in me. But they know that. So there isn't even really a deep discrepancy so much as a preference in practice, a preference in how to worship. It's all right. All that matters is love God. Either way, any way, inside, outside, with form, with name, without name, it doesn't matter. Just connect and love. Yes.
You were talking before his answer. You were talking about daydreaming, and you mentioned senses. You hear me? Oh, hello.
Sure. And we'll take this as our last question tonight,
Okay.
and we'll come back to your other question tomorrow. Yes.
So I'll repeat it. My question is on your saying about daydreaming and other things that you said about senses. Sometimes daydreaming has a good, positive thing, like inventions, or sometimes music comes up, or sometimes every occupation has benefits of daydreaming, and as well as senses that we can sometimes connect with, like only hearing or only smelling, and maybe it wouldn't give us thoughts, or maybe good thoughts, and not every thought will bring us to a bad place. There is good
Yes.
thoughts as well.
Yes.
So maybe I did a lot of things that I think, but I will be glad if you said what do you think about
Sure.
daydreaming and good thoughts and activities.
Sure. So first of all, there's lots of great things in the world. Daydreaming is one of them. But it's only one of innumerable things. The question is always, what's my goal? So sleep, for example. It's wonderful. The body needs it. Daydreaming, at least, isn't even essential, but it's nice. Absolutely can be beneficial, as you say. But you take sleep. Sleep is essential. It's fantastic. But that doesn't mean that when I sit down to meditate, I should let myself fall asleep. And if I find that I'm always falling asleep in meditation, it means I need to reschedule my sleep meditation hours so that my sleep isn't interfering with my meditation. Now, that doesn't mean that sleep isn't wonderful. It just means that it's different than meditation. And it's always about, what is my goal? So if my ultimate highest goal is what I'm going to create or innovate or figure out, then absolutely, daydreaming, fantastic. But if my highest ultimate goal is I'm going to live in consciousness of the divine presence, then every moment that my mind and my thoughts are just trailing aimlessly, whether to good places, beneficial places, I invent something, I think of something, or negative places, either way, it's pulled me out of presence in that moment. Now here's something interesting. As we are grounded and anchored within ourselves, as we are conscious and aware and free of the games of the mind, free of the monkey mind, as we say, just the nonsense all over the place mind, when that mind is still, into it actually come all of the creativity, all of that innovation, all of that genius. You know, physics tells us the universe hates a vacuum, right? And when the mind becomes still, interestingly, into that space flows grace. And yes, it's grace of an experience of awakening and love and truth, consciousness, pure awareness. But it also comes with creativity, creative expression, wisdom. The rishis and the sages and the saints who sat in these Himalayas, meditating, gave us yoga, they gave us Ayurveda, they gave us math. How, sitting in a cave meditating, did they possibly give us mathematics? Because into that space, where it's not my mind, it's not my thoughts, it's not my issues, my expectations, my ego, but it's just the spaciousness that is created when that nonsense stops. You know, we always say silence, it's not an emptiness, it's a fullness. It's just full of truth and grace rather than full of nonsense and falsehood. And so when you experience that state, it's not that you're brain dead. It's not that you're dull or numb. It's actually that you're free and spacious, and into that freedom actually comes everything. And so that's the beautiful space of it. And so what I would say is, give it a try. See whether through the stillness and the spaciousness that comes in meditation, do you find even more creativity, even more truth than you find by allowing the mind to just daydream and wonder. Because when the mind is focused and still, that's actually when truth emerges. And as I said, sitting here in the Himalayas, they came up with the answers to every ailment, ranging from, a headache to diarrhea to every single thing that Ayurveda can cure. They didn't do it standing over Bunsen burners. They did it meditating in caves. They didn't give us Vedic mathematics with chalkboards and books and calculators. They gave it through meditation. There is wisdom in the universe that exists. And when we actually are still and quiet enough and spacious enough and free of the I, me, mine, identity, false selfness enough, we're able to connect to that wisdom of the universe and to be free. So give that a try. See what happens. Okay? And as you asked about good thoughts and bad thoughts, it's like we talk about good karma and bad karma. Both of them keep us stuck. If the ultimate goal is moksha, is freedom from the cycle of birth and death, then your good karma is going to make you just as stuck as your bad karma. If you are doing it as the doer, your good karma is giving you a bank account with plus, your bad karma is giving you what you could think of as a bank account with minus. Bad actions, negative actions are going to give you minus. This is obviously an oversimplification, but it works for the moment. Good deeds give you a positive bank account. Bad deeds, negative bank account. But in both cases, you're going to have to come back to reap that bank account. Because that moksha, that freedom, only comes when the bank account is zero. And this is where in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says to Krishna, well then forget it, I'm just going to do nothing. And Krishna says, unfortunately not possible. Because even if you sit down and you sit on your hands, and you don't speak and you don't act, that's still an action. Because inaction, not doing your duty, not doing your dharma, that's an action. If I'm walking down the street and some guy in front of me trips and falls and hurts himself and I don't help him, that's an action. Not stopping and helping is an action. And it's going to have its own consequences. And so Arjuna then says, well then what in the world is the answer? And Lord Krishna says, just be a tool in my hands. Just be an instrument. Realize I'm the doer. Be a vessel. Be a vessel for my will to flow. Surrender. Surrender yourself, your thoughts, your deeds, your life. Surrender it all to me. and just be that tool, be that instrument. So whether it's a good thought, a bad thought, a good deed, a bad deed, either way, you're simply looking at the difference between sweet fruit and bitter fruit. But either way, you're the one who has to eat it. And ultimately, the goal is not about how much sweet fruit can I accumulate, but how free can I get? And the only way to that freedom is surrender. And realizing I'm a tool. And here's the thing about a tool. Doesn't matter how it's decorated. Nobody ever says, oh my God, that is the most beautiful hammer I've ever seen. Wow, look at your diamond-covered hammer. I wish I had a diamond-covered hammer. It's totally irrelevant. All that matters is, can that hammer work when you've got a nail that's out of place or a nail that needs to be put in place? You could have a hammer that were made of gold and covered with diamonds, but if it didn't work to hammer that nail into the wall, it would be useless. And it reminds us in our life, it's not about how am I decorated, how am I accessorized, what show do I put on. It's about how useful am I as a tool. How am I? And this, of course, is that same teaching that the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi gives us. O Lord, make me an instrument of thy mercy. An instrument, a tool, means useful. Tool in God's hands. We surrender. And that's the source. It's the source of all creation. And creation requires creativity. And so it's the source of all creativity. Wonderful. Have a beautiful evening. We will have a very, very special music program here. As I was saying on the Ghat, we have our beautiful musicians and singers who have come in. So in the meantime that you have dinner, they will set themselves up. And then everyone should come back quickly to enjoy the sacred and beautiful music program. And we'll see you all tomorrow.